For over 377 years, the Philippines lived under the shadow of a foreign flag. Entire generations were born, raised, and buried never knowing freedom. But how did it all begin? And how did it finally end? This is the brutal, fascinating, and often forgotten story of Spanish colonization in the Philippines. Before the Spanish arrived, the Philippines was not a unified nation. It was a vibrant archipelago made up of thousands of islands home to over 100 distinctive non-linguistic groups. Trade routes thrived. The Tagalogs, Visayans, and various Moro sultanates conducted commerce with Chinese, Arab, and Malay merchants. Political units called barangays, small independent communities, were led by datas. Islam had already spread in the south. Animism and indigenous traditions shaped life in the north and center. There was no Philippines, only a rich mosaic of thriving cultures, each with its own system of governance, laws, and beliefs. In 1521, a Portuguese explorer sailing under the Spanish crown, Ferdinand Magellan, landed on the island of Omanen. It was the beginning of something far larger than anyone could imagine. Magellan's expedition marked Spain's first contact with the archipelago. He converted Raja Humabon of Cebu to Christianity, but things turned bloody when he tried to subjugate the local chieftain of Mactan, Lapu-Lapu. On April 27, 1521, Magellan was killed in the Battle of Mactan, one of the earliest recorded acts of resistance against colonization in Southeast Asia. Spain wouldn't forget, and it wouldn't give up. 40-4 years later, in 1565, Spain returned, this time with a more calculated plan. Miguel López de Legazpi led the successful colonization effort, establishing the first permanent Spanish settlement in Cebu. Soon, Legazpi moved northward. In 1571, he conquered the kingdom of Manila, then ruled by Raja Suleiman, and declared Manila the capital of the Spanish East Indies. Catholic missionaries poured in. Friars set up missions. Indigenous beliefs were outlawed. Spanish laws were imposed. The goal was clear: Christianize the natives, extract resources, control the land. For the next 3 centuries, the Philippines became a colony in all but name. The Spanish crown relied heavily on friars, Augustinians, Franciscans, Jesuits to run schools, collect taxes, and maintain control. Religion and governance became one. The frailocracy, a government dominated by friars, emerged as the true power behind the scenes. Meanwhile, the Philippines became a key player in the Galleon Trade, linking Manila and Acapulco. Chinese goods flowed west. Mexican silver flowed east. But Filipinos saw little benefit. Forced labor, polo, wise servicio, and tributes became the norm. Peasants toiled under brutal conditions. Land was seized. Resistance was constant. The Dagohoy Rebellion in Bohol lasted 85 years. Revolts broke out in Ilocos, Pampanga, and Mindanao. The Moro Wars raged in the south, where Muslim sultanates resisted Christian rule for centuries. By the late 19th century, cracks began to form in Spain's colonial grip. A new generation of Filipinos, the Ilustrados, emerged, educated, articulate, and increasingly nationalist. They demanded reform. At the forefront was José Rizal, a doctor, writer, and visionary. His novels Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo exposed the abuses of the clergy and called for peaceful reform. Rizal inspired the propaganda movement, a campaign for equality, freedom of speech, and representation. But Spain would not tolerate dissent. In 1896, Rizal was arrested, tried, and executed by firing squad in Bagumbayan, now Luneta. His death lit a fire that could no longer be extinguished. Rizal's execution galvanized the revolution. Led by Andres Bonifacio and the Katipunan, the Philippine Revolution broke out in 1896. Armed uprisings spread across Luzon. Bonifacio dreamed of an independent republic. However, leadership struggles, betrayals, and Spanish counterattacks slowed progress. Bonifacio was executed by rivals within the movement. Then came a turning point, the Spanish-American War in 1898. The United States, now a rising power, defeated Spain's Pacific Fleet in the Battle of Manila Bay. Emilio Aguinaldo, exiled and later returned by the U.S., declared Philippine independence on June 12, 1898. But the celebration was short-lived. In the Treaty of Paris, Spain sold the Philippines to the United States for $20 million without consulting a single Filipino. For 377 years, Spain shaped the culture, language, religion, and identity of the Filipino people. Streets were renamed, tongues were replaced, faith was redefined. Yet, despite centuries of conquest, the Filipino spirit never died. It resisted, it endured, it evolved, and in the ashes of empire, a new nation rose. This is not just the story of colonization, it's the story of survival. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into Philippine history. Drop a comment below. What part of this 377-year story surprised you the most?